What's going on? My name is RoboDessert, and I'm going to talk to you about overlays. Whether you decide to stream on Twitch, YouTube, or if you go back in time and suddenly decide to stream on Mixer for whatever reason, overlays are going to be an important part of your stream. Whether you're using something flashy and crazy that takes over half the screen or something minimal and black and white and simple, overlays are a factor of your channel that allow you to show off more of your personality and give you another place to sort of set the vibe for your channel. Now, if you're good with graphic design programs and coding, you can create your own alerts and your own graphics and your own overlays, and that's really cool. But not everyone can do that. It's me. I'm not everyone. So you could go out and pay somebody to create some custom graphics for you, but you might not know exactly what you want out of your channel right from the start. And that's okay, because there are a bunch of places out there to buy pre-made custom graphic packs and overlay packs, such as Own.tv, Visuals by Impulse, Nerd or Die. There's all kinds of places where you can just buy stuff that is pre-made. But those packs cost money, and not everybody has a lot of money. So if you're gonna go spend your money and buy one of these pre-made packs, you wanna make sure that you can get the most value out of the pack. So I've put together a few tips to help you get the most value out of the pack that you purchase and use the elements that come in that pack in some creative ways. Now, of course, not every website sells the same packs, and not every pack is gonna come with the same items in the pack. But if you hear a tip in this video that doesn't apply to the pack you're using, think about ways that you might be able to use the elements that come in the pack that you have in some other creative ways. I also want to note that the usage rights for the content that you buy from these websites might vary from website to website, so make sure that however you're using the elements in the pack, make sure that it is okay to use those elements with the usage rights set forth by those websites. And with that boring legal stuff out of the way, let's go. So this first tip is going to seem counterproductive to the entire video, but stick with me because it's an important one. And that tip is don't buy an overlay pack yet. You see, when you're first starting out on Twitch, you're going to feel a lot of pressure to get everything exactly right. And you're going to want to run out and get an overlay pack with a cool camera overlay and go, look at how cool I am. Don't do that. When you're just starting out on Twitch, you might not know exactly what you want your channel to look like in terms of colors. If you want rounded corners or sharp edges or flashy or minimal or whatever it may be. So if you go out and purchase something right when you start, you're going to end up replacing that down the line, and you're going to buy a second overlay pack. And then eventually you're going to replace that and buy a third overlay pack and a fourth, and so on and so on. Now, of course, you're going to end up doing that regardless, probably. You're probably going to buy a couple of overlay packs in your time and still end up replacing them over time. But if you wait and don't buy one at the start, then you can save yourself that much more money and save yourself one additional purchase. Instead, you can put that money towards something that matters a little bit more at the beginning, better lighting, a better camera, a better microphone, etc. Because in the end, nobody's going to follow you and watch you for your overlays. They're going to follow you and watch you for you. And camera and lighting and microphone, those are things that can help you come through more in your streams. The overlays are just a nice little bow that you can put on top at the end to make everything look pretty. So if you're just starting out, use free elements that are available to you. Streamlabs and Stream Elements have a bunch of free alerts and free decorations for your stream. Even places like Nerd or Die, or some of the places that I mentioned at the beginning of this video that sell overlay packs, also have free elements available on their website for free. So go use those and save yourself some money first, and then once you figure out more of what you want, then start investing in your overlay packs. Tip number 2 is to use scene backgrounds for scenes that they're not necessarily intended for. A lot of overlay packs will come with some sort of just chatting screen or an intermission screen that feature a background, and a lot of times these backgrounds are separate files from the rest of the pack, which means that they can be removed from the camera overlay and your chatting elements and all the other stuff and just used on their own. And what I like to do is take those elements, those background elements, and put them in other scenes, such as on my game screen. Now, obviously, while you're playing your game, you might not be able to see that because the game will take up the whole screen a lot of the times. But if you're switching from, say, your just chatting screen to your game screen and you haven't had your window capture set up yet, then a lot of times that'll just be a blank screen. Or if you use an Elgato capture card, you've probably seen this screen at some point. So instead of having those, you can have the same background from your just chatting screen or your intermission screen in the background. Not only does that make it more visually interesting for your viewers, but it creates one cohesive background throughout all of your elements, and it makes it look like all of your scenes are coming from the same source. You can also use this window technique with any game capture or window capture that is a weird resolution size. For instance, when I stream GeoGuessr, I like to crop out the top of the window capture so that way you don't see all of my open tabs, the search bar, etc, 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 because it just kind of clutters up the screen, but that leaves me with a lot of empty space down at the bottom of the screen. So what I do is I use that background file from my just chatting screen and pop it in behind everything else, so that way it's more interesting to look at down there, and then I can fill in the rest of the space with goal widgets or chat widgets or social media, whatever you want. And once again, it now all feels like it's one cohesive element throughout my entire stream. Tip number 3 is to use the elements that come in your overlay pack as graphic assets in videos that you make. At some point in your streaming journey, whether you're streaming on Twitch or YouTube or Mixer, you're probably going to start making videos for YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms, and you can use some of the elements in your overlay pack as graphic assets in those videos. For instance, if your overlay pack included a cool transition, you now have a cool transition to use in your video, like this. You can also use the background that we talked about in the last tip in your videos as well, especially if they're animated. In my own Twitch channel trailer, I use the same animated background from my just chatting screen to add some subtle animation behind my schedule graphic. Little touches like this can help tie everything together across multiple platforms and also just make your videos look that much more professional. Do keep in mind that some of these elements might come in file types that aren't supported by all video editing software. For instance, the transitions that came with my pack were as a WebM file, which was not supported by Adobe Premiere. However, I was able to find a plugin for Adobe Premiere that allows me to use those WebM files in my videos. So if you're trying to use a stinger transition in your own video or some other element and it's not loading into your software, just do a quick Google search and there's probably a plugin or some sort of converter that will allow you to use those elements. Following the video theme, tip number 4 is to use the elements in your overlay pack to create your YouTube thumbnails. If you make videos for YouTube, you're going to want to make custom thumbnails to grab people's attention, and that can be a lot of work, but you can use elements in your graphic overlay packs as a base for those thumbnails. My overlay pack came with still image versions of those animated backgrounds from my just chatting scene, so I was able to use those as a base for my YouTube thumbnail. In fact, I'm probably using it for the thumbnail for this video. Future me will know that. I do not know that right now. In fact, to take it a step further, the overlay pack that I purchased actually came with color variants of that same background. So what I was able to do is actually splice together 2 different color variants into one background. That created a nice background with a pop of color. A lot of overlay packs come with files that can be used in thumbnails, including font files, backgrounds, even the panels might be able to be repurposed into elements of a new thumbnail. Tip number 5 is to combine elements from different overlay packs into one overlay element. Now, like I mentioned at the start of this video, you're probably going to end up purchasing multiple overlay packs over time, which is great. You know, maybe you like the camera overlay from this one pack, but you really like the chat widget from this other pack, and the goals from this pack, and whatever it might be. And I don't just mean use the camera overlay from this pack and the chat widget from this pack. I mean actually combine 2 camera overlays into one new camera overlay, which is exactly what I did with my current camera overlay. In fact, I'm actually technically using 3 now. But we'll go back to when I was just using 2 to make it easier to show you what I was talking about. I loved the event list aspect of this camera overlay that came from the Jelly UI pack by Visuals by Impulse. And I also loved the border of this camera overlay from the Arcade Pop pack on Nerd or Die. So why not use both? By cropping out the border of the camera overlay from the Jelly UI pack and layering it under the camera from the Arcade Pop pack, I was able to create an entirely new camera overlay that I love and is now slightly more unique than the ones that come in both of those packs. So in addition to using the elements in your pack in creative ways, look for ways to use those with the tools available to you in OBS or Streamlabs OBS to create new elements that you won't be able to find in an overlay pack that you purchase. And with that, I leave you to your own creative overlay journey. Those are all the tips I have for you today. If you have found some way to creatively use the elements that have come in an overlay pack that you have purchased on your own, let me know about it in the comments. I would honestly love to see it and love to hear about it, so that way I can steal those ideas and use them on my own stream. What? Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you ever want to chat about this or have any questions or want to know more about what I talk about in this video, feel free to come follow me on Twitch and hang out and talk to me live. I'm live every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 12 to 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I would love to chat more about this with you. Thank you so much. Catch you next time.